Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you. And hello, everybody. That's Pink Floyd live. Embryo brings us to the top of the hour here at KRFF 95.9 LPFM, more at Fargo, 701-478-4959. Beautiful day here in Fargo. Of course, it's 420 degrees here in the studio. I'm dressed appropriately, and I hope everybody out there is too. I hope you're keeping the pumpkins, keep the frost off the pumpkins, as they say. Beautiful. Side stage with Trav every Thursday, noon to 12. And then we got an hour of automation. And then Bingo, Bango, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We talk about cannabis in a positive light. And this Thursday's no different. At 4:20, we open up a big, fat, stinky bag of cannabis news. And we're going to be able to keep it kind of local. So everybody that lives in Minnesota, North Dakota, or just nosy about Minnesota, North Dakota, you're going to want to tune in to the show. RadioFreeFargo.org. You can listen to old stuff. You can donate. I suggest the latter. That was code for donate. Would you? Could you donate a little? We'll take it. The independent radio station that survives and thrives on non-big monies. And so I'm proud of that, and I know the people are proud of that here as well. My show, however, is brought to you by Becky's Body Butter, Black Cottage Alchemy. This stuff is beautiful. You can get it at Odds 2 Inns in West Fargo, 2111 Main Avenue East, number 4, and then right outside here by the studio, Tochi Products. While you're in there buying this Becky's Body Butter, and there's other things you can buy this brand as well, but that's what my show is brought to you by, Becky's Body Butter. You can go to Black Cottage Alchemy online, or you can go over to, like I said, Tochi Products, and while you're in there, sign the Indy for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition, because they got one in there for you. And as we're going to get into this, you're going to probably see that it's probably the best one happening. It's the one that cares more about you. But it's called Canna-Talk ND here. That's what I do. I'm going to talk about cannabis in North Dakota. So if there's something going on in the big house, I'm going to talk about it. If there's something going in the little house, I'm going to talk about that too. How could I not talk about anything going on cannabis related here in the great state of North Dakota if I called myself Canna-Talk ND? So anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, brought to you by Becky's Body Butter. Go get you some. Thank you. Now, I've known a couple people who have been homeless all winter long. I've known them to sleep in a backyard on a cardboard thing. Insane, and the two I knew almost preferred it, which I'm being mildly facetious, but I mean, life gets you there, and if the New Life Center helps people who are homeless and hurting go from merely surviving to truly thriving. Their aim is to help people in need discover value and find hope. The New Life Center has evolved into a multifaceted emergency and crisis service center. To learn more about NLC, visit their website at www.fargonlc.org or give them a call at 701-235-4453, and they could take care of you. All right, we talk about cannabis in a positive light. We're going to talk about that at 4:20. Right now, just, give yourself a high five. Be glad that you made it to where you got to. And I did want to say that I was going to have Representative Jason Doctor on, but he's down on the floor as we speak doing politician-y stuff. So he was cool, though, and he said, I can't do it now, but I'll do it on March 4th. And that's a Thursday, and that's after House Bill 1420 kind of goes on, maybe as far as it'll go. So it'll make more sense for me to talk to him then anyway, because we'll be able to see where this House Bill 1420 ends up. And I've been watching sessions and stuff, and they call it 1420. How lame is that? So I'm hoping I can get him to stop doing that. It's House Bill 1420, for shizzle. All right. So we're up at the first musical break, and you guys are wondering, what is it? It's Keith Richards, of course. So let's do Keith Richards. It's Key to the Highway 2020. See you in a bit. Woo! Yes, sir. Key to the Highway. Keith Richards. Hate it when you leave. Key to the Highway 2020. I know you guys are thinking, man, the guy still does music. He's still alive? Of course he's still alive. Him, Betty White, Willie Nelson. I mean, they're just getting younger, and that's what they're going to do. So anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's where we're at, folks. We talk about cannabis in a positive light, and this Thursday's no different. 4:20, we open a bag of cannabis news, and that's going to happen next. But I thought, well, why don't I do my last kind of like my shout out for Minnesota, the campaign for full legalization. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I wish everybody would follow this one. I would be hollering a whole lot louder attaboys at North Dakota politicians if they adapt. You know what I like? Here's what I'd like North Dakota politicians to do. Look over the river, see how much cooler the Minnesota one is, and adopt it, right? I want them to be ashamed of theirs when they look over the river and they see how people benefited driven measure this is. You know, this is, you can tell that they got the people in mind, not the money they're going to make from the people in mind. You know, and that's two kind of different schools of thought. We got to get ahead of this to make the money because we don't want anybody else to make it. That seems what North Dakota premise seems to be. But Minnesota's like, we want to do this right. Prohibition isn't the problem, or is the problem. Cannabis is not the problem. Cannabis is the solution for a lot of the problems. Feel me? So Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. And so what I want to do is if you're in Minnesota or you know somebody that is, you need to get a hold of, you got to blow up Senator Paul Kazelka's phone. And when I say blow up, I mean call it a lot. Not, you know, you don't literally blow it up, right? So, I mean, it's funny that I'd have to say that because, I mean, I just censored myself, I feel. But we need to blow up all these lines of communication with this measure in Minnesota. So, and it seems to me that the guy that would make this the easiest to get through is Senator Paul Gazelka, and he doesn't seem to be in it to win it, as they say. So we got to change his mind, and otherwise this beautiful measure, which is, I mean, it's got like God's light shining on it, and there's like, you know, 16 choir arrangements doing the around that measure because it's a good one. So, you know, hopefully I can get you guys to get Minnesota to change. And what I would love is North Dakota to see how beautiful this one is and just kind of say, my bad, we didn't know that you could do a measure that's focused on the benefits of the people. Well, we want to benefit the people. We don't want to just be, you know, taxing our people to death, which I think I learned somewhere, and I don't have the proof, this is just an entertainment show, that we tax the snot out of people. Like, we don't need to tax as much as we do here in North Dakota to get by. So, there's that. So, anyway, Paul Gazelka, phone number 651-296-4875, and this is for the Minnesota legislation, full legislation. Mail's 95 University Avenue West, Minnesota Senate Building, room 3113, St. Paul, Minnesota 55155. Email https://www.senate.minnesota/members/email form /1169. And there you go. Now we're up to the music that brings us to 420. I'm excited about it. Last week I brought you Puddle's Pity Party's Folsom Chains. This is Pinball Prison. Yeah, you don't hang up on the luster's potentate. You know what I mean? Those are good words to live by. Pinball Prison, first up, Puddle's Pity Party. Shriners Convention, Ray Stevens. If nobody's ever heard that before, you're welcome. And if you have heard it before, no problem. Happy to do it. Radio Free Fargo, 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's what we're strapped into now. Talk about cannabis in a positive light. 420, we're going to get all into it, open a big bag of cannabis news, and we're going to do that here in a second. I'm going to do the intro like I do, but I just wanted to say Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. You'll hear this again tomorrow about 5 o'clock minus the music. And if you want to stay up to date, ND for Freedom, which will be North to Cannabis soon. And then on Sunday, you got Philip Cannahead Pilko. He's going to talk to you about cannabis because that's what we do on Canna-Talk ND. So, let's do it. We'll see you on the other side of this thing, and we'll get into cannabis talk, North Dakota, Wilson style. So if you want the real facts, you're going to have to kind of Google that stuff yourself.
Yo, it's Wilson from Canna-Talk ND. You know, the super awesome show you're getting ready to listen to. I think you should go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll wait. Okay, enjoy the show.
Okay, hello everybody. That's my entry song, Wake and Bake by the Goats. I thank them for not knowing that I need them to be around for that. But anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday at 4. I get in here. 420, that's what it is right now. We talk about cannabis in a positive light, and that's not going to be any different today. I just wanted to update everybody that thought that Representative Jason Doctor was going to be in here. So did I, but he gave me enough warning, so I'm not going to say he just left me high and dry. High and dry. But anyway, he's got something to do today that came up, and he, you know, because he's running our whatever, you know, so we deferred to that, and that's great because when he is going to call back, which is March 3rd or March 4th, That's what, 2 Thursdays from now, House Bill 1420 is going to probably be as far as it's going to go. So if it was going to pass, we're going to know that when he calls. And, what's interesting to me, I live in a bubble. I live in Fargo. I advocate for cannabis legalization. It provides so many benefits, from the body butter to my head, and so I believe in it, and I'll go down with it. You're not going to change my mind. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're God, and then I might listen to you a little. But I'm still pretty certain that cannabis is not a sin, and everybody should use it in some form. I digress. House Bill 1420, that's going to legalize cannabis, but it's really written from kind of an ignorant perspective, which I don't love, And so what I'm hoping then is when he does call, he's probably the only person that I'll ever talk to that disagrees with me, really. I live in Cass County, and 2 years ago with a wide open measure, we passed it 52%. So I live in a world that everybody believes cannabis should be legalized. Everybody in my world wants to know who the people is that aren't down with cannabis. And quite honestly, it's the politicians in North Dakota, specifically Representative Jason Doctor. So, if I was going to ask anybody questions as to why they don't like it, it would be him, because he's going to know, because they still call it marijuana, so that's interesting to me, so if I can get him to stop calling it marijuana, that's a win, because education is what makes the world go round. But who do they listen to? That's the problem. Because a lot of them are self-absorbed and they think they have all the answers and they want to push it on us. And so, I don't know. So that's the question. We have to figure out who they'll listen to and then get them to the stinking capital so they can start changing. And hopefully, I thought, well, maybe if Minnesota passed that super cool measure and North Dakota looks and sees how they do it, then they may recant and learn and say, Minnesota, tell us more. How did you get that? Why did the people like you? Well, we stopped calling it marijuana because it was a racist term, and started calling it cannabis because that's its real name, and we started to treat it like it wasn't a demon devil lettuce, and we realized it could really provide a lot for our people in the state of Minnesota. So we listened to the people. And North Dakota goes, oh, yeah, wow. Well, we want people to like us too. We're sick of being disconnected from the woke group and, the youngsters that, seems like we sound like we're from 1800s, So anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We talk about, news in North Dakota and Minnesota and as far out as we can get. But I think, I can rabbit hole for the next 25 minutes about North Dakota and the current temperature of cannabis legalization, because there is a person-driven initiative, ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act. It's a great measure. But it'll take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work, and that's always been my contention, because you got to be louder than the people that are also making noise. So you got prohibitionists, and then now you got these fancy, we also like marijuanas, right? So, you can see through them, and so there needs to be, out of all of them noises, there has to be the loudest noise, has to be from the people that are the rightest. And the rightest people are ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act. So they got to get louder. They got to be everywhere. They got to be a sticker on the telephone pole. They got to be, they just got to be loud. Because if they can't be, then who's listening? And who are they listening to? Because I guarantee you not everybody's listening to me. And the people that are listening to me, there's probably a percentage of them that aren't listening to me. Feel me? So anyway, let's get into this. But House Bill, so there's a lot going on in North Dakota. House Bill 1420, sponsored by Representative Jason Doctor. We'll have him call in March 4th, and it got a due pass. So again, I don't know what all that means, but it basically went through one of the hurdles. It's got to go through a few more hurdles, and then they're going to do a crossover. So that bill is going to go to the Senate, and then it's going to come back. It's got a long road. So there's no way in the world anybody in the right mind should put their eggs in the House Bill 1420 basket. However, the decrim one, the more I look at that, that one feels like legalization to me. An ounce, you only get a $50 infraction? What happens if you get 2 infractions? Do you get more? You know, like could I get busted 7 days in a week and only have a $350 infraction for 7 ounces? You know, an ounce a day keeps, you know, the infraction away. You know, because $50, like I said, when I got busted 2 years ago outside my apartment with a apparatus, a cannabis consumer, you know, a consumption tool. Yeah, cannabis consumption tool. I had to pay $400 and I had to go to court. But if I could wander around any given time with an ounce and a $50 piece, and by piece I mean a silver doubloon, in my wallet, to me that's almost legal. I mean, $50 a day for an ounce a day, 7 ounces. That's like, I don't even know. That's like over a quarter pound for $350 in infractions. So it'll be neat to watch that one, because that decrim feels, I don't know, to me, and being a recovering addict, I mean, I'd commit felonies before I even got out of bed. So that seems like an olive branch to me, you know, but I don't think it should keep anybody from not signing or pushing a person-driven initiative, because, again, it's us against them. You know, and I don't know how to convince them to do it the right way, like allow people to grow plants medicinally, because that's how it should be. But they don't believe that. They think you're going to outfit the whole town and, you know, in doobies, you know, and they probably even say the doobies. So there's an ignorance problem, you know, and ignorance isn't bad. Nobody's stupid. It's just they don't know. And so somebody's got to teach them. But anyway, so House Bill 1420 is also, and you'll want to look into this yourself, has some sort of tracking ability. Like your purchases will be tracked. So I suppose if you have more or less than what you say you bought, right? It feels like commie business there. It feels like the communist. It feels like communistic cannabis. Communist cannabistic is what that is. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. 420, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news here on Radio Free Fargo. And this Thursday's no different. And I'm trying my best to settle in here. But so anyway, we've got Indy for Freedom of Cannabis Act. That's the constitutional amendment. That's going to let you have 12 plants. That's the mecca. That's the ultimate, right? That is where we need to get to. But maybe the road to that isn't paved so pretty. You know, maybe you have to go to the thrift store and buy the generic pants before you can buy the tuxedo. I don't know, you know, but I do know that you're going to want to watch the decrim bill, because if you can have an ounce any given day and it's a $50 infraction, I don't know. That sounds pretty good to me. I mean, that sounds crazy good. And in a sense, it feels like legalization in a sense. So I don't know all the ins and outs of decrim and legalization, but if I just have an infraction like a seatbelt fine, then I'm going to walk around a little more pimp. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to have a little more confidence, and I'm, you know, I'm not going to consider it. I would consider having my medicine then, you know, because my state of mind is worth $50, $50. My state of mind's worth $50, you know. So anyway, be watching that one. House Bill 1420. Again, we're going to have the creator of that one on in 2 Thursdays. So by then it should be almost cut and dry. And at the very least, like I said, I'll be able to ask him why they're so scared of growing. Like when I say, can you grow? They'll be like, no way. But why though? Explain that to me, because I don't understand why we can't grow. I don't understand why it isn't like tomatoes. I think it's just it's a supplement. It grows. It's part of our world. It should just grow up next to the potatoes. When you go out to grab whatever, you grab some basil, you grab some cannabis, you grab 2 zucchinis and a microphone. So to me, I don't know why there's the fear, because I don't have it, and I know cannabis isn't bad. I know anybody can benefit it. It's medicinal. If it was up to me, I would go on the medicinal platform of cannabis all from the top to bottom. I would say it's medicinal no matter what. It's medicinal no matter what. If it relaxes your day, there's medicines you can take for that. You know, if it helps you put your thoughts in order, there's meds for that. If it gets you out of the house because the house, is the safe place and you just can't live your life and cannabis helps you, there's meds for that. So if I was running, I'd run on the platform of cannabis is medicine no matter how you do it, no matter what. It's medicinal. So anyway, and we should all be able to have it. So what I wanted to mention right now is this is from the High Times. City of Atlanta, January 28th, 2021. The mayor of Atlanta has signed an executive order suspending drug testing for certain prospective employees. For some incoming city employees in Atlanta, a drug test will no longer be a prerequisite for the job. Let's give Atlanta a hand. But yeah, that's good stuff, And so I hope people follow suit, Atlanta says, hey, we're not going to do pre-employment drug testing. And that's another thing, drug testing. Right now, let's just say, we'll just throw out somebody like, say, Rohr's Construction. If it was legal and let's say they get kickback money from insurances, if they say, listen, our guys are drug tested, so we can prove it to you, give us a discount on insurance. I was always told that's how it went. If you could say all our people are drug tested, well, then insurance companies would cut you a deal. But if it's legal, what happens to them monies? And they even say, like, even Spike Cohen, he pointed out that Christy Don't Know loses, like her husband insures crops. And so cannabis isn't included in that crop that's insured with her husband's company. So if cannabis is legalized in South Dakota, he would miss out on that monies. So you're thinking, that can't be the reason why. I don't know, man. You find the greasy wheel, you find a hot palm. Just made that up. So there's I have a hard time trusting intent, that it's for us and not for them, because we see politicians getting their palms greased all the time, getting their hands in cookie jars, in the Bahamas with a scantily clad lady that isn't his wife. That stuff just is the way it is, so it seems to me like if you were a rich person in North Dakota and you got kickbacks to saying your employers or your employees are drug tested, and you would lose that money if cannabis was legalized, well, do you think that person in office is going to be pushing for something that would cause them to lose money? I don't know. It's something I would think about. So anyway, there's that. And I can tell I'm getting fired up. Ooh. All right, guys. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I bring all the hot news to you. And I got a lot to talk about. We can go way out. But first of all, let me talk about this. It's in Normal, South Dakota. Governor announces intent to delay implementing voter initiative medical marijuana access law. So if you're from South Dakota, you guys got to start doing whatever it is advocates do. This is out of Pierre, South Dakota. Leading state lawmakers, including Republican Governor Kristi Noem, which I feel like she's the one doing it, announced that they intend to delay the implementation of Measure 26, and it was approved on Election Day by 70% of the voters. Now, again, you can go to South Dakota for marijuana laws or whatever, and you can see that lawmakers intend to pass newly introduced legislation, House Bill 1100, amending Measure 26 implementation dates. So Measure 26 said we can start on this date. Well, they don't want to. And they, as the collective ignorant group of lawmakers, they don't want it. So they're going to delay. They want to delay. So South Dakota voters in November passed a pair of voter initiative marijuana measures, Measure 26 and Amendment A. So Amendment A has been kicked. It's gone. So, and again, the more I don't know what I want to say, because I don't want to say I'm a Christian or whatever, or a higher power or whatever, or what is a sin, So for me, medically, I believe cannabis is medical, and that's how I would use it, and so there's that. So, I can see where even I might go, let's be careful with the recreational. Of course, don't get me wrong, I'm all about full recreational legalization. But I can see how people could stop arguing for Amendment A. especially if you're ignorant, you don't know the benefits of cannabis and that. You think because South Dakota's already got impoverished areas and they probably think, well, it's going to get more impoverished because they think it's more like booze, they just don't understand, and so that's the thing. But the medical one, 70% was a mad holler for legitimacy. And so they put a lot of work in it, and so they want to create an interim committee to make the recommendations prior to next year's whatever. So that's the problem. That's the problem, is that they created stinking Measure 26 to be fully implement ready. And they created another House bill legislation to amend it, so to change what it wrote. So what it said is what the people voted on. It was clear, concise, and ready to be implemented. The people, 70% of the people said, we like it, it's ready to be implemented, let's go. And legislators, Christie don't know, they go, whoa, we got to slow the roll. That's it. They're like, we got to slow the roll. So they implemented legislation. And so it just really is horrible because they can. How many people in South Dakota now don't believe that their voice counts? How many? 70% of the people that voted for something thought they were going to get it. And it just gets destroyed by a few people who don't agree. And it fires my hindy hole up when I think about that. Because what are we doing for future generations of people-driven freedoms? For what we want. It's by the people and all that jazz. And it's becoming less. It seems to be almost like a joke. Because 70% of the by the people have gotten squashed. And now it's just a big old mess. So if you're in South Dakota, start emailing, start putting signs in Christie Don't Know's yard. Just kidding. Okay, but so here's some good news here. This is also from Normal. Legal marijuana industry employs 321,000 full-time workers. Okay, according to, let's see. Jobs in the state licensed cannabis industry rose 32% during the past 12 months in Seattle. The industry now employs over 321,000 full-time workers, according to Leafly. Let's see. It looks to me like the regulated cannabis industry added approximately 78,000 new jobs over the past 12 months. Authors of the report acknowledge that the industry's increased growth was especially noted because it occurred in a year marked by a global pandemic, spiking unemployment, and economic recession. And cannabis was still strong. States adding the greater number of new cannabis-related jobs was California, 23,000 jobs. Florida kicked down 15,000 jobs. Illinois, 8,000. Michigan, 9,000. Overall, the total numbers of full-time jobs in the licensed cannabis industry has really risen nearly threefold since 2017. So it's not going to be hard to convince politicians that we should get it because of the revenue that it will create. But I just wish that politicians would see this as a humanitarian effort for equality and, just equality, just human right effort to where this could do right by the people or wrong by the people or right by just a few people, at expense of all the people. And that's another thing with House Bill 1420 is it doesn't allow for diversity. It doesn't allow for competition because the politicians don't want to keep track of a bunch of different dispensaries and whatever. They'd rather there just be a Walmart dispensary that's got all the money to get started. They don't need any special interest or special zoning, or they don't need anything. They've got all the money and they give it to them. They take it all in their grubby little hands and then, But again, who's policing them if they have all the money? They get away with stuff. So again, it's not the best measure for the people, And again, I'm thinking that decrim bill might be one that, you may want to help politicians see, that's what maybe that's what we want until the people can get this one in, or, until the people can get ND for freedom or something like it, written by the people for the people. And that's the other thing, vetting. That's the other thing that, they tell you your measure's vetted and then it gets to, it gets voted on and then it still doesn't happen. So anyway, House File 600, second hearing on the proposal is scheduled in the labor industry, veterans and military. And this is the Minnesota one. So it passed the first stinking whatever that is. So let's see here. I'm just going to keep cruising. But anyway, Minnesota, that's a good sign. And so let me just cruise through here. New Jersey lawmakers, man, New Jersey lawmakers, marijuana talks break down months after voters approve legalization. So it's still not there. Following weeks of negotiations with the governor, a top New Jersey lawmaker said on Wednesday that it is abandoning revised compromise legislation to implement marijuana legislation in the state. There have been repeated attempts to reach an agreement, including the introduction of an earlier version of a cleanup bill. So I don't know what the problem is with these guys, but I would imagine that it's about money again. But anyway, we'll end on a nice little note here. NFL explores how marijuana and CBD can be used as an opioid alternative for players. The National Football League are launching an effort to learn about the potential of marijuana and its components like CBD as alternative treatment options for pain. They're also more generally interested in discovering how cannabis use affects athletic performance. The notice lists 3 areas of interest: the therapeutic role, the impact, and switching from harmful opioids. CBD is a promising compound, the committee said, but the level of its use in the U.S. outpaces the level of research at this point. So most of the hype about CBD is based upon results from animal studies. I don't know what that means, but I will say that Wisconsin governor, they unveil marijuana legalization details and budget proposal. We'll just get crooking through here. Hawaii Senate panel approves bills to legalize marijuana and decrease decriminalization. See, I think the day we start calling it cannabis is the day we're going to see healthy movement, because it's just, as long as we're calling it a made-up name based on racism and based on the drafting of the 1939, it's a drug bill. Because again, I'm here for entertainment, and I'm here to spike your interest and help you educate yourself and educate other people on the benefits of cannabis. Because Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday is merely just that. I want everybody to know how good cannabis is. And if you don't believe me, who are you going to believe? Again, I've dabbled with every drug you could possibly manage, I've been in bed with every drug you can imagine for as long as you possibly could imagine I was in bed with it. And at the other side of it, I'm happy to be alive, and the only thing that still is around is cannabis. And when I was deep in my addiction, cannabis was the first thing I gave up when all I could afford were the ugly ones. So there's that. And I'm not any worse for wear. And there's no deaths from all the states that have legalized it. We got no ticker like COVID. It's not going up saying, well, we shouldn't have legalized cannabis. But now we legalize it in Illinois. Now we got 3 deaths a day, 4 deaths a day. No, you got 0 deaths a day as we move through the taking over of the world in cannabis legalization. So if that doesn't spawn, movement in North Dakota politics, especially with this Jason Doctor, I don't know what else to do except keep pushing the people-driven initiatives. And so that's that, and that's that. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, going to be here next Thursday, 4 o'clock, and then at 4:20, big fat bag of cannabis news is going to happen. So come on back next Thursday. This hour of music on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by Flatland Guitar in Lutherie. Flatland Guitar is your full-service guitar shop and your exclusive dealer for Yamaha, Taylor, Paul Reed Smith guitars, amongst many others. They also sell guitars on consignment as well as take trade-ins, along with having a full-service on-site repair center. Check out Flatland Guitar in Lutherie on Facebook or visit in person at 1450 25th Street South in Fargo. So thanks for joining me as I trip through on ADD. I trip through with an ADHD kind of groove. So I hope I covered everything. And if not, just Google House Bill 1420 and Google Minnesota's bill. Or check them out on Facebook. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. You can watch this or listen to this again, minus the music tomorrow. KRFF 95.9 LPFM is where you're listening to this stuff. It's musical break time. I've got the big push, Sweet Lady. That's right. Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9, LPFM Moorhead Fargo, 701-478-4959 is what you're tuned into now. The What is Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday, 4 to 5. After Side Stage with Trav, noon to 3. We talk about cannabis legalization and cannabis in a positive light. And this Thursday was no different. Neither will next Thursday, and I'll be back in the studio. But thanks for listening. Educate yourself so you can educate other people. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. You can listen to this tomorrow. RadioFreeFargo.org. You can go there and donate. This hour has been donated by Becky's Body Butter. Ain't nobody's body this butter shouldn't be on. Black Cottage Alchemy online. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. You can go to Odds 2 Ends Gift Shop, 2111 Main Avenue East in West Fargo, or you can go to Tochi Products, and they've got it in there. Again, that's body butter. This stuff's amazing. It's made with kosher full-spectrum CBD, North Dakota grown hemp. It's got ND hemp seed oil, CBD, mango butter, shea butter, beeswax, and a bunch of other stuff. You can check that out. It's anti-itch, pain, inflammation, eczema, hydration of the face, neck, and hair. It's good stuff. Again, this show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy, notably Becky's Body Butter, Odds to Ends in West Fargo, and Tochi Products right here downtown in the beautiful heart of historic downtown Fargo. And then sign the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act petition while you're in there too. And if I were to say the best thing going for North Dakota as we speak is the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act being pushed by people, and then a close second is the decrim bill, which it looks to me like you can have under an ounce and it's only a $50 infraction. And I'm sure I'm reading that wrong because that seems pretty loose. It seems pretty loose. But again, I probably read that wrong. But if I didn't, it seems to me like that's the coolest decrim I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you have under an ounce, it's like a $50 mail-in fine. I mean, that sounds beautiful. So I don't know. That doesn't sound right to me. But anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. We talk about cannabis in a positive light. And Canna-Talk, let's see. Philip Canna-Head Pilko. He's got a show Sunday on Canna-Talk ND. Let's see and review House Bill 1420. The writer of that one is going to be calling in 2 Thursdays from this one, and we'll talk to him about that. Let's see the decrim bill. We'll be watching that one for you. Again, if you know anybody in Minnesota, get them to email the snot out of that Paul Gazelka, because it looks to me like he's the guy that's going to be a problem. And then after me, Stinky Arts Music Mart. That's getting ready to happen. And then Locals on the 8th, and then that's your Thursday. I'm sure I'm missing it. But again, Radio Free Fargo, KRFF 95.9, the home of the coolest guy in the world, Wilson. That's me. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'm going to get out of here real soon. I mean, if you're not going to be able to handle me being gone because you're going to miss me, I'd start to get nervous because I'm getting ready to wind it up. But again, educate yourself and educate others on cannabis and the benefits of it, because I don't even know. I mean, there might be some damage to your lungs if you're constantly ripping blunts. But there's even tests that says your lungs get stronger by coughing. And there's not a lot of negative, input when it even coming to smoking. But I know for a fact, because I quit smoking, I don't know, like a couple, 2, 3, 4, or 5 months ago or whatever, and I can definitely tell that I don't have that. So that can't be good, right? And when it's gone, it's got to be good, right? So anyway, I'm about out this sucker. Again, I'll see you next Thursday, 4 o'clock. I get in here, 4:20, open a bag of cannabis and this news. Oops. It's 420 degrees here in the studio. I'm dressed accordingly. And as always, David Allen, Judgment Day.